It's the Ides of March, March 15th. I'm waiting for them to give me a call at my apartment complex, a part that I need for my oven. It's going to take 2 weeks, so they decided to swap me out with another one. And I'm hoping that that other stove may even be a little newer. I don't see why it would. The apartments aren't that old. But you never know. I just hope it's in good working order. So I'm cooking some eggs right now before he gets here, because I'll need them. Stove works, oven doesn't. So last night I had a talk with a friend, and it never ceases to amaze me that depending upon the individual, my intuition brings up language structures that are appropriate to the understanding of that other individual. And I know, that you got to take time to get to know people and that kind of thing. And I understand that other people are better at it than others. But what happened last night was that I was able to share with him a basic synopsis of the importance of feelings, in the development of civilization, which just rolled right out of me. I was able to just explain it, just like that, and it was wonderful because clear, concise, and to the point. But what we were dealing with, I used the metaphor of the dark aspects of our being somewhat like beasts within us, which I was explaining to him. Some of them I have had to slay, but I know I leave one. And what I do with that one beast is I keep it asleep. And the way I keep it asleep is by doing good things and treating myself well and exercise and caring and that kind of thing. And all those things are boring to it. Very boring. It likes the battle. It craves blood, basically. And being that I was raised the way I was raised, and I have my own innate inclination, I do not thirst. I do not have that bloodthirst consciously. I know that there are aspects of it that take us over, and then we become possessed by them in a moment. And that's not regulation, moderation, or management of ourselves. That's not a self individual. However, I understand there are times when we need to release, so this part of the conversation also led to Greek tragedy and the term catharsis, because I had been talking to him about how it's very important to purge these feelings from us. But along the line, I also shared with him, if you look at other people who are very, very busy, because, everyone's a little different in how they subdue their beast. And what I mean by subdue is put it to rest, because nobody is truly pure and, one-sided, though they try to be. I think of them that do try to be all well and wonderful as schizophrenic. They've split off a whole aspect of their being, and since they've split that off, they are separated within themselves. They have multiple personalities, and all you have to do is trigger the right trigger and wake up beast. And usually, if you never really threaten your beast, if you're never really challenged by your beast, then you really don't have a lot of experience dealing with it. What most people do is stay away from aspects that I lost my train of thought. Events in their life that will cause their beast to arise. And in doing so, they never learn any techniques in having to deal with it. But on another aspect, in order to learn how to deal with it, they actually put themselves in a situation where they have to contend with it outside of themselves. This is another portion of the conversation I had, is the struggle is within, not without. And if we refuse to deal with it within ourselves, then we will have to deal with it outside of ourselves. It's sort of like nature, that sort of Gaia hypothesis, where the whole world is one organism. But the whole world will reproduce our internal experience that we're neglecting. And I came across this idea that I didn't come across it, but I came to this idea that, if we neglect aspects within ourselves, when they arise outside of ourselves, they're going to have the aspect or the characteristic of neglect, or a neglectful character. But I was telling him, if you look at other people, some people contend with their inner beasts differently. And generally speaking, some men keep themselves very, very, very busy. And in keeping themselves very busy, they come to confront their demons outside of them. They think they're outside of them. They're separate from them. This is why I think that they're slightly schizophrenic, in the fact that they've got this split-off personality, this split-off aspect of themselves that they're learning how to deal with. I learned this years and years ago with the judicial system, when I told them, you guys have invented false charges against me. This stuff never happened. And they told me that they didn't believe me. Well, the judge said, who do you think I'm going to believe, you or the cop? And I realized at that point that they were crazy. You have to take the facts for what they are. And they make it very difficult. They make it very challenging, very upsetting and painful and agonizing to admit their own mistake. Because it threatens them. We all like to have our own little safety zone. We like to think that everything's working smoothly and that we can trust the people we're working with, and and for me, it just depends on how invested are we in whatever we're doing. If we're over invested in something, then we may misvalue it and devalue something else, and then miss the mark entirely. So I learned that people in the judicial system and in courtrooms are learning how to communicate. They don't know how to communicate. A lot of them espouse themselves as these great communicators, but actually they're really great manipulators. They edit out all types of aspects of their own being within themselves, and so when they go out into the world, they edit out all types of aspects in the world. And in this way, they can egocentrically self-aggrandize their own delusional fantasy and live that out. I don't blame them. If it happens on this planet, it's normal. That's what I say. Abnormal behavior is really normal behavior, only we just don't understand the purpose and meaning to it. And I had to learn to pick my battles. What kind of battles do I want to pick? And in this situation, as far as social endeavors and everything goes, society wants to make all its participants to think that it's all important, overvalue it, and then devalue themselves and their own selfish means, so that they can have a collective order. But in the process, everyone makes these misjudgments. Not everyone, not all the time, and some of the judgments really don't matter. a great deal of our judgments really don't matter, you know. Really the only judgments that matter are the real big ones. But we find out that those really big decisions that we make, those life-changing situations, actually, if we can persevere through, fulfill our destiny. Look thine enemy in the eye, smile and say, "Thank you, teacher, for thou art the harbinger of mine destiny." And in relationship to the conversation I was having with my friend, I let him understand that in this process of catharsis, where we're purging our feelings and we're trying to get these feelings out and express them and contend with them and process them and integrate them, assimilate them, and bring a symmetry within us, a unity, making ourselves more whole. In that process, we come to terms eventually with the realized understanding that out of our darkest night comes our brightest light. So these dark aspects of ourselves, for instance, this dark, I use myself as an example, this dragon that I do not slay, but I subdue and keep asleep. I learn to manage those dark aspects. But in learning how to manage those dark aspects, something is inspired from deep within me to be its match on its light side. So I endeavor good deeds and good acts, and these things are inspired by my own inner darkness, my own beast. And however, this is not to say that I deny my dark aspects. I have to allow my dark aspects to be contended with, not just subdue them all, put them all to rest, because then I'm not inspired by them. Like Nietzsche wrote, I'm afraid if I exorcise all my demons, my angels will leave me too. So there are these dark aspects in which I have to come to terms with. The thing is that I don't have to force other people to contend with them. However, when I do have dark situations in my life, and I go and I try to open communication, and I communicate and I take responsibility, then that's a self-responsible behavior. I ask for help. And this is key, because I asked for help repeatedly, and I never shut down communication with the authorities that were in charge. And they did. They refused to communicate, and they refused to assist, to help me, just within their means, just that which was within their means. And I came to realize, actually, there's a great many things that are beyond their means. And when I realized this, then I went, oh, well, that means I have to take responsibility. And what that required of me was that I retreated from the field of endeavors. Only to the point where, I didn't separate myself off from having hopes and dreams and goals, but to regulate and moderate those hopes and dreams and goals in relationship to what I understood was the consequence of my goals. See, this is the thing, is that a great many people edit out. They think they have the human right to behave a certain way and to have certain goals and to meet those goals at any way. And I've realized that they're fighting their own inner demon. Their demon has possessed them in such a way as to blind them, so to say, to the consequences of their desires.